Excuse me. As I belch horribly as the stream goes live. Welcome, and we're live. Okay, welcome to I don't know what episode, as the COVID has taken my brain and turned it into mush. And
we've
how
lost
is
count.
Everyone?
We're not going to be able to fix this. Like, we were being so diligent in keeping track of the episode numbers, and then COVID hit, and everything goes to hell.
Everything went to hell.
In a handbasket.
So, how's it going, boys? How's everything? Everything is well. Locke, I know, has been live streaming for at least 24 hours. So, well done, sir. I'm very pleased. But basically, it's Wednesday night. Let's drink some beer. And I know that, of course, myself, Dave, and Alan have successfully found the same beer. Yes. Locke, I want to start with you. What beer are you drinking this evening, sir?
All right. So, I think I may have discovered a contender for my new favorite beer.
Oh, my God. Yes,
it has been a long time since I've come across something that I like as much as I like Billy Bishop. So named of the World War I Canadian fighter ace. It's by Le Bilbequet Microbrasserie. And it's from Saint-Hyacinthe, Quebec. And what can I tell you? It's 7%. It's a double IPA. No, sorry, it's not 7%. Is it? It's 8%. Sorry. Double IPA. They advertise it as going well with turmeric, curry, paprika.
If you have like a big bowl of turmeric?
Potentially carrot cake. I don't. I have had the carrot cake thing is funny because I have had carrot juice with turmeric, and it's good.
But I mean, nobody grabs a bowl of turmeric with a spoon and just like,
Well, I don't know. Maybe that's a test that we need to try in a later episode. But right now, I
agree. I think that's a great idea. I mean, like that whole cinnamon challenge where people like jam a whole bunch of cinnamon in their mouth, try to eat it, and then realize cinnamon's actually kind of hot. So, what beer are we drinking, Alan? You actually, was it Dave that chose this one? I don't even know.
No, I went to the jar store and I picked out a whole bunch of stuff that I figured that Shane could get his hands on because he lives in Vancouver, which is this huge metropolitan area. And so all of the breweries are from the Lower Mainland-ish kind of area. So we are doing, and this is a new brewery for us here on the Crafty Boys, never been done before, Electric Bicycle Brewing Company. It is their, hazy pale ale. We are all, except for Locke, obviously, able to get our hands on it. It looks kind of exciting. I kind of like the marketing.
The marketing is very Expo 86.
Yeah, it is
very Expo 86.
Which I that is high praise for me. I take Expo 86 very seriously.
Okay.
When I'm talking about Expo 86, I don't mess around.
So it's a 5.5% alcohol by volume. Comes in a 473 ml tall can. It is pungent. It smells the aroma of hazy pale ale goodness. It says that it's hoppy and hazy, and I'm anxious to sort of like start gulping this thing. So let's see.
So far this is supposed to be a pale ale.
Right, it's not an IPA.
It does not. By the way, the can that I got, by the way, was like there. I should have picked a different one, but this one's been banged around quite a bit.
Now, I was kind of impressed when I opened up mine. I mean, mine was filled right up to the
so was mine.
The thing right here. I mean,
this to me. I mean, I don't know. Again, color on the screen, but essentially. A lot of effervescence going on, and it's definitely very hoppy.
It's very hoppy. I don't know how hazy it is.
It doesn't smell. Well, mine's quite hazy, actually.
So, like, what are we talking? Pine? Are we talking citrus? What are the?
For me, it's citrus.
It's a little citrusy, yeah.
A little citrusy, but I'm totally getting pine kind of flavors in there as well. It's got that sort of like that piney kind of bitterness.
Yeah.
To it.
We're talking like grapefruit, maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
Grapefruitish. This does not taste like a. This strikes me as like an IPA. It's really got that hop pungent flavor.
Yeah.
Or it could be just a hoppy ale, I guess.
So I thought I saw something interesting about the tin there. Now that looked to me like there's actual aluminum showing there.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So is that printed onto the tin, or
it's a label?
No, it's a label.
Label made of. So yeah. So this is sort of high speed, low volume batch kind of brewing, and
Most likely, yeah.
and maybe even gypsy stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
But I'm enjoying it.
Damn fine, I gotta say.
It's really good. I've never actually had anything from these guys before, and I'd like to try out more of their product.
They had about 4 different beers at the place where I got it, so that is a possibility. Yeah.
Now, the actual brewery is very close to you, Shane, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Have you ever frequented their establishment?
No. I have not. Mainly they're down by sort of right beside R&B.
Mm-hmm.
I know that I've walked by them several times, but that sort of area of our town is really, because of all of the different establishments, like all of the different what am I trying to say? The buildings that are there have long been industrial, and they're really large, and a lot of them are empty. They've been empty for a long time. Sort of that light industrial kind of area that used to be connected to the stuff going on down by the water, pre Expo 86 is what I'm saying. So, it's gentrifying, and Main Street's definitely, basically just in the past 2 or 3 weeks, the Main Street strip, all the buildings along there between Broadway, where Broadway and Kingsway connect block?
Yeah, totally.
So basically everything south of that on the side has the buildings are either being heavily renovated or they're being torn down for new projects. So, so that's kind of a big deal going on down there. But just if you head west from Main Street, you're going to see a lot of these buildings. Anyway, Faculty Brewing's there, R&B, 33 acres.
Relevant question. Does that mean that the Rumpus Room is moving yet again?
No, on the other side of the street. So
the
Rumpus location is currently still there. However, Rumpus Room is closed down right now because Rumpus, a staff member who worked in the kitchen at Rumpus Room, but also worked in the kitchen at Narrow, and also at another restaurant in that area, which I've forgotten the name of, have closed because they tested positive for COVID-19. So Rumpus Room. So basically, the other 2 restaurants, Narrow especially, are hit hard with it because it is a very small space. So they are being scrutinized for how many people they're letting in, blah, blah, blah. The other location as well. But Rumpus Room has been playing the proper game of making sure things are spaced out. They don't have too many people inside and that kind of thing. So they're actually not going to be closed that long, apparently. It's more or less just to let the people that actually work there get through the sort of 2 weeks of isolation. So
Now, before we get too far off topic here, we haven't heard from Dave yet what he thinks about this beer. I'm very curious to see what he thinks.
I on my first taste, it was like I was really liking it, and I was almost getting a little bit of a limey.
You say limey?
I said limey, yeah.
You limey?
Yeah. I don't know. I want to say like turmeric or something weird like that. Just on the first taste. Oh, nice.
I just wanted to show you what the electric bicycle R&B Brewing is right just down here, which is where Allison and I visited there a little bit ago. But this is what the electric bicycle brewing co. building looks like. Very much like their branding. So anyway, I just thought I would share that because I thought that was amusing.
Okay, Dave, continue.
Nice art. So yeah, it was very, very weird, and maybe it was because it was all the bubbles. Because, like you said, this freaking thing was to the gills.
Yeah, it was really heavily carbonated. Yeah. That was the first thing that I noticed. Like not explosive carbonation, but once you made the pour, it really the bubbles were incredibly present.
When I just pierced open the can, I thought it was going to go
pierced open. You're like. You did like what's this? Who's that character in played by Michael J. Fox in the Werewolf
Teen
movie?
Wolf.
Teen Wolf. What was his character's name? Do you remember?
Scott.
Scott
Something.
Yeah.
Scott Wolfman or something.
Anyway, but yeah, he did the thing where he bit into the can. That's what I was picturing you doing.
Yeah.
Just bulleting that thing right there.
Right. Well, I surf on top of the van and.
That's right. Let your hair flow in the breeze.
Long hair.
I'm gonna regret that eventually. Someday I'll be like, I'll wake up.
I want to say it was Scott Haddon.
Scott Howard, I think.
Howard, yes.
Scott Howard, Teen Wolf. Yes, there we go.
Why do I remember that? Seriously, I haven't seen Teen Wolf in I don't know how many years. I can't remember the last time I watched it. How do I know that?
Our brains are wired to remember the most useless junk because the harder we try and remember, apparently it's harder to commit things to memory because you're actively trying to do it.
But Teen Wolf would be relevant right now, wouldn't it?
Would it? Why?
Well, I would think so. Like like 80s retro is awesome.
Oh yeah.
But 80s retro with Michael J. Fox in horror comedy, how boss is that?
Mm-hmm.
That's true, especially since Teen Wolf had its own TV show from 2011 to, like, it ran for 6 seasons or something. I never saw it, but it ran for a thing. And not to mention, Teen Wolf had its own sequel starring,
Jason Bateman.
Jason Bateman as another Teen Wolf. In college, I think he was in university or something. But there you go. Although, I have to say that my favorite character in all of that sort of 80s stuff was the character named Styles, who was played by Jerry something. Hang on, let me look this up here. Jerry Levine. And he was in a bunch of films I liked in the 80s. Like, he was that sort of character actor, but him in Teen Wolf was like the pinnacle in my mind of his performance because he had full-on commitment. He had the T-shirts that I really like, that I've been tempted every so often. I think about it going, I'm going to print one of those out for myself, like Wolf Buddy, but also what are you looking at, Dick Nose? Like that to me is like I've often wanted to. I went so far as I took a screenshot of the T-shirt to identify what font had been used, and then I actually made a graphic for it to actually put on a T-shirt. But I was never brave enough to put it out there because of But every so often I'm like, yeah, I'll spend $24 to print off my own T-shirt. Why the hell not?
But here's the thing: nobody's going to get that reference.
not very many people that is very true.
No.
So I mean, it is just one of those things.
So basically, you're going to get your ass kicked if you wear that shirt.
Why the hell not? I mean, here's the stupidest thing in the world. Every time I've thought of clothing and kind of, every so often you go, what is my style? Do I actually have a style? What do I like to wear? And I actually kind of want to have bizarre shirts, like unique shirts that are just different. That
you have had unique shirts, like
yes, but not something you design. Like this is what I'm talking about. Like actually go to a tailor and say, okay, this is the fabric I want to use. I want to look like I'm a marshmallow set on fire that's having sex with 1,700 different marmosets at the same time. And the guy would be like, sorry, what did you just say? And I'd be like, you heard me. I want that. Make that a reality. And I've actually looked at different.
Then you need to be careful that people don't think you're a boogaloo.
Yeah. Totally.
Okay, good point. I just had beer fly up my nose. But anyway, the story I actually want to talk about right now, aside from my poor style choices, is the Calgary brewery named Village Brewery, who have partnered with a company called Xylem Inc., and they are also going to be working with they've also worked with, this is already a past tense thing, where they've actually worked with the University of Calgary, or the U of C minus, as I always remember it being called by somebody I know who worked there. But basically, they're making a limited batch of 1,600 cans of water that has been somewhat treated by the Calgary sewer system, or whatever. Well, they took out the heavy particulates. They gave them basically sewage water that was not fit to drink. And then Xylem Inc. basically ran it through their technology, which is some sort of 17 different things that they filter, reverse osmosis, ultraviolet light. Basically, it's a technology that turns really gross water into drinkable water. So they did that process. The Alberta Health Authority, whatever they're called, did a review of the water, saying, "Yep, that's fine," and they've taken that water and they've turned it into a batch of beer. So, all the articles that are really that talk about this always sort of refer to it as, will people drink it? Because will they be turned off by the fact that they're drinking water that they perhaps urinated or defecated into? So, Locke, how dirty is Calgary?
Well, so let's talk a little bit about what water treatment plants are. Where do you think the water that you drink normally is being? Okay, maybe it wasn't you shitting in that water, then it was a beaver shitting in it. Or a dozen beavers and a few rats and some...
or some dinosaurs.
Or, no, the dinosaur shit's pretty much... Now we drill down and collect that shit and turn it into gas. But my point being, do you not realize that without chlorination and a certain amount of settling factor and water filtration is something that has been a natural process from the beginning, but when we do it at a municipal level, we use some pretty big machines, and there's a lot of settling tanks, and there's a certain amount of chlorine involved. What I'm wondering is, okay, so what are they doing that's different? Do they have a different method than they're using in the municipal services? And if so, is this water chlorinated? If it's not chlorinated, what are the measures they're taking to make the water not gray water, as they call it in the industry? Gray water is the euphemistic term.
Gray water, yeah, exactly.
Gray water. Yeah, how do they turn it into drinking water? Potable water is the industry term.
Potable water, yeah. Well, basically, they describe it in the articles as what was involved in making it drinkable was that they ran it through some technology called ultrafiltration. I'm assuming that's the typical filtration things we see.
It's just some guy named like Harold with like a strainer. They're just feeding in the water through a colander.
Oh, I didn't. How did that get in there? So they run it through this ultrafiltration system. They also treat it with ozone. They ultraviolet the thing to death, and then they run it through. And the last step is usually reverse osmosis, in my experience. So that's basically what they do.
Yeah.
So, and apparently the idea of making beer with wastewater was as most of these sort of projects happen, is it started out as a joke, while the Xylem and the ACWA, which is, who the hell is the ACWA? I don't even remember. There's so many people involved in this. It's anyway. University of Calgary, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, okay. So Advanced Canadian Wastewater Assets. So they were apparently talking about what kind of projects they could do that would get some sort of attention. And they came up with this idea, which, to be honest, I think is actually quite brilliant. I mean, it's better than vaginal yeast beer, which we've seen, 3 times in the last while? Like, from what I recall.
I think once, but it seems like 3.
No, we had the one in the UK. There was one in Poland, and then there was one here in North America.
All right.
So anyway, it doesn't really matter. But at the end of the day, they basically have turned a sort of a gimmick into something that I think we're going to have to deal with in the near future. Like, in our lifetimes, we're going to have to be talking about how to save water, but more so how to make more drinkable water. Because if we don't,
strikes me. This strikes me as being more of a social experiment than it is a practical experiment. Will people drink beer knowing that it is made from wastewater? But here's the thing: over the course of history, I would wager, I don't know this for sure, that every single drop of H2O on the planet has been consumed and urinated by some creature somewhere many times over, as you said.
Right now, we're drinking water, according to the article, that has been passed through dinosaurs.
This
DNA? This beer, exactly. This beer was peed out by a dinosaur somewhere in the North American continental plate.
That's right. So, I mean, we are drinking wastewater beer right now. They don't advertise it as wastewater beer, but that's what it is. All water is wastewater.
And I mean, the big thing too is
as long as you're not drinking bog standard lager, it probably doesn't.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I was saying it would probably still be better than Budweiser.
Oh, so we're just drinking Budweiser then.
Right.
Budweiser, sponsor the show. Sorry, keep going.
No, you know what? If Anheuser-Busch wanted to pay us like a ton of money just to shut up and stop slagging on like labels like Budweiser and stuff, I'd take it. Bring it on. Bring it on.
I'm sure they're mighty concerned.
Yeah, I'm sure our audience is just killing their bottom line.
Your whole 2 viewers.
So let me say a couple of words about what I'm drinking right now, because I am trying to put my finger on why I think this is such an outstanding product. It's sort of got the same profile as a very unusual drink that comes from Victoria, British Columbia, called Blue Bridge, which is to say that it's quaffable, it's easy drinking, it's a light, tasty beverage. And if you have 3 of them in a row and try to stand up, you might find yourself in some...
Really? So who does Blue Bridge here? Is that Spinnaker's?
Spinnaker's, yeah.
Yeah.
Blue Bridge is a weird double IPA because it's got this... I don't know how else to describe it. It's like easy drinking, sort of thirst quenching, quaffable beer, with a little the suspicious sort of tang and sort of buzz at the end of your consciousness of mosquito repellent. It's sort of, there's something oddly summery and porch-like about it, slightly mosquito repellent-y, sort of nagging. What that is, that's the 8% alcohol reminding you that yes, this is strong beer, and yet quaffable.
I'm gonna have to try that. I've never had Blue Bridge, and now I think I'm gonna have to.
I think,
in fact, I think we better do it on the show.
Sure.
Now the question is, could Shane get his hands on it, being a Spinnaker's product?
That's a very good question. I was actually, this week actually, Locke, was a bit shocking because the beer that Alan and Dave, aside from this one, found, I would have expected to have been everywhere on the Lower Mainland, but I could not find it anywhere. So,
now, is that plague times?
It's possible. Maybe it's all been home delivered.
Could be. But
I want to bring up another article that I found. And I forgot to put it in the chat, but because since I mentioned the vaginal yeast beer that we've talked about in the past.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Locke, I don't know. Maybe this is a new brewery, but again, we're in Alberta. Hell's Basement Brewery. Have you heard of this? No. Okay, so basically, it's an Alberta. Sorry.
It sounds promising.
Well, they made a beer called Huru Huru. It's a pale ale 2 years ago. And apparently, this beer has been discovered in oh my lord, New Zealand, because the phrase or word Huru Huru,
oh yes,
actually means pubic hair, and in the Maori language, so or Maori, I'm not sure how to pronounce it, but essentially the culture that lived in New Zealand before colonialism. So they are now pissed off about this, and the brewery has had to apologize and that they would now rebrand that particular beer because they.
Okay. First of all, I don't understand.
Wait, hang on. Because the brewery thought that the Huru Huru meant feather in their language. So there you go. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think that the Maori people that are complaining about that are not the sort that I've met who would likely applaud such.
They are, well, yeah. They are claiming that because it's basically appropriation of their culture.
Here's the thing. Yeah, sure. It's an appropriation of their culture. Except the people complaining about it have appropriated Maori culture from regular Maori guys who probably thought that was hilarious.
Okay.
It's very easy for people to stand and say, "Oh, well, I'm on behalf of my culture, which I own, because those are my people. I bought them and paid for them. Those are my people, so I can complain about any slight against their dignity because they're mine, my people." Right? I'm sorry. It's sort of like the farmers' union in Manitoba that represented himself and maybe 2 other farmers, while the rest of the farming community in Manitoba were looking aghast at this, saying, "Unionize? That's not what we're trying to do." No. But you see what I mean? Like, if you stand up and say, "Well, I represent these people," until somebody can prove otherwise, I guess so. Oh, gee, well, we're very sorry to you and all of the people who you represent. And did they pay you a retainer? Like, on what basis do you represent them? I mean, like, good God. Like, Pacific Islanders that I know are robust, push you around, fucking joke and dig at you kind of people, like the construction workers. They're normal guys, right? The ones going, you said something that offended my ancestors. No, I'm sorry. You're offending your ancestors by pretending that you represent them. Your ancestors would have thought that was pretty fucking funny.
All right.
So there you go. Any other thoughts, guys?
On that subject? No.
You need a beer after pubic hair, and that's not funny?
I have to say, it is kind of funny. It is kind of funny. Especially that they did it accidentally.
Well, I mean, according to what they said. Well, they said it was accidental. They thought it meant something completely different. Which, to be honest, you don't speak the language.
The fact that it's accidental is actually pretty embarrassing. They should have done it on purpose.
You'd think that would have been it. Here's the problem: is I don't think there's as much planning as that goes on for these kinds of things. I think they all start out as jokes around a table somewhere, and then
what was the name of the brewery?
Sorry, the one that called Hell's not
Basement.
Hell's Basement, yeah.
I
find it kind of ironic that a brewery named Hell's Basement has to apologize for cultural misappropriation.
We're fucking ridiculous, right? So, I literally went. So, my sister, who I love dearly, was a curator on a very provocative and very good museum piece at the Guelph Civic Museum about the history of the University of Guelph's involvement in the eugenics program, right? It's some heavy stuff, right? But at the after party, I ended up talking with a lot of the socially involved social worker and sort of that community, right? That are all very interested in social justice and they were talking about how wrong it was to call anybody like a moron or an idiot, right? You can say fuck, that's fine, yeah. Fuck is totally fucking normal, right? But if you call somebody but that's ableism, isn't it?
That's true.
You say fucking shit all day, but you can't call somebody an idiot.
I heart toxic waste. So anyway, I was thinking about not to go back on my whole T-shirt thing earlier, but I was looking at T-shirts from movies a little while ago, and that is the movie Real Genius.
I love that movie. Yeah.
Yeah. So one of the shirts that he wears is "I Heart Toxic Waste," and I kind of felt like making that one too. There's all these shirts that I've actually thought about just making for myself, like not wanting to, sell them or whatever. I just want to make them so that I have one, just because, no reason other than that. So,
sweet.
I think that'd be kind of fun. And also the phrase that I heard in a video game the other day, where a character in the game that I was interacting with referred to me or referred to my character as Broba Fett. Come on, settle down, Broba Fett. And I just thought, Broba Fett, that totally needs to be on a t-shirt. He kept saying every like other sentence, has bro in it, stuff like that. So Broba Fett, I thought it really stuck with me. So
Yeah,
not bad. Yeah, I like it.
you should get like that as a tattoo.
yeah, right across my gargantuan butt. Da 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 da. Well, so what other fun things have you guys been up to this past week? I mean, are there any beers that you drank that you thought might worth be mentioned?
All right, so I came across a thing that obviously I had high hopes for. It was called, fuck, I can't remember what it was called, but it was by a brewery called the Lock Street Brewery. And I thought,
Sorry, the Lock Street Brewery. Okay.
The Lock Street Brewery. And I'm thinking, yes, welcome to Lock Street. This is going to be excellent. I am going to enjoy this. What was it? It was boring lager.
Okay.
What?
Yeah, it was boring lager. I mean, like from Lock Street in what is evidently a highly militantly nationalistically Canadian place, which I support entirely, of course, because that all of that's very good, and we should do more of that today. But yeah, Lock Street Brewery. Oh yeah, it was lager. It wasn't bad lager. No, sorry,
It's lager.
Sorry, my mistake. It was Pilsner. The Portside Pilsner. That's what it was. It's Pilsner. Which is to say that I mistook it for a lager because it was short on that Czech skunky, like heavy hop kind of lager. It wasn't.
Right.
It wasn't that style of beer. It was just it tasted like lager.
Well, they are in St. Catharines, Ontario. Lock Street Brewing. They have several beers. The flagships being Jealous Mistress, which is an English brown ale. Portside Pilsner.
Yeah,
Industrial Pale Ale, which is apparently an IPA, according to what they say. The Jealous Mistress, which is another English brown. And there you go. Actually, that's pretty much it. Just those 4. So look, you're not too far away. Just hop across the water there, and you should find it.
I think maybe I should try their English browns.
I would definitely go for it because they seem to be fairly new, from what I can tell. Just looking.
Well, I would have to gather so because I'd never encountered anything from them in the past. Getting beer in Ontario is, as has been previously reported, a frustration, not just because of COVID-19, but because of the fact that you get it from one of two places. You get it from the beer store. You won't be finding the product there because that's too niche for the beer store. So you would have to be lucky enough to find it at the LCBO, supposing that the LCBO have it in stock because they decided to bring it in on this.
I just thought I'd show you the building that Lock Street Brewing is actually kind of nice. That's very cool. So it's got a really decent thing.
You know what it looks like? It looks like a bank from like a small town in Mexico or something at like the turn of the century, kind of. Not the turn of this past century, but the one before that. The kind that the Three Amigos would walk into.
Yeah.
I can see that. I just actually, speaking of Mexico and the Three Amigos, I just watched a couple weeks ago. I became addicted. Oh, I know why. Because the composer who did the music for a lot of the spaghetti westerns, whose name I will...
Sergio Leone?
No. The composer of the soundtrack. Oh my god. I always call him Encino.
Morricone.
That's
yes,
the one.
yeah.
So he passed away a little while ago, a few weeks back, or maybe a month ago now. Anyway, when he passed away, I thought, you know what, I will listen in his honor. I will listen to some of the music that I grew up with, and which I fell down the rabbit hole of. I kind of want to watch, A Fistful of Dollars and A Few Dollars More and whatnot. So I surprisingly found them available in decent quality on YouTube. So not only did I do that, but I discovered that there is a channel on YouTube that has been authorized by the production, whoever controls the rights to these movies, where a lot of the other spaghetti westerns that were made around the 50s, 60s, and sort of into the 70s are being uploaded to YouTube for people to watch because I guess there's a very little market for them or whatever. So I fell down this rabbit hole for like a week watching spaghetti westerns that I'd never heard of that were really good. I was everyone hears about, the Clint Eastwood ones. Of course, the best of the best being The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. But there's actually a bunch of decent westerns out there from that period, and also westerns in more recent years, like Unforgiven and that kind of stuff. That just tell really solid stories. It's still about blah 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 blah. Now, granted, my entire existence really is about a gunslinger. Shane, come back, Shane. That film / book. Of which I have like 19 copies of because people keep giving them to me. But which, by the way, is a decent read if you ever want to read it. I just reread it again a couple years ago. That sort of non Western where the Native Americans are portrayed as the villains and the white hat wearing white guy, where these films are just very ambiguous and whatnot and are basically this is what expansion is all about, and it's ugly and horrible, and but there's people that live in it that just deal with day-to-day stuff, and I don't know, I just really enjoyed it. And of course you can never go wrong with watching Jack Palance being an asshole on the Western trails, so there you go.
Have you ever seen Coming at You?
No, but
it's an Italian 3D Western.
That was actually something I found very interesting that I hadn't known before, which was we, of course, heard about the spaghetti westerns from Clint Eastwood's work, but there were a lot of them. Like they were the Italian production companies were just for a long time pumping these things out. What is it called again?
Coming at You.
Coming at You.
Coming at You, yeah. So this is, I think, 81, something like that. And it is fucking crazy.
It looks like that movie 1984. Do you remember that film? The Steven Spielberg thing?
Sorry, do you remember?
Oh, yeah.
1984 or Class of 1984?
No, it was called. Was it called 1984?
Because Class of 1984 was like reactionary shock horror about the evil punks that took over the fucking high school.
1941. Sorry.
Okay. Yeah. Oh shit. 1941 wasn't.
That was it was a 79
wasn't that
film.
A Lucas project?
It was Steven Spielberg directed it.
Spielberg, okay, yeah.
Robert Zemeckis and Bob Gale who wrote.
Okay, yeah. So it was the right.
They wrote it. Dan Aykroyd and John Belushi were sort of the big
yes.
lead. So I seem to music done by James Earl Jones. No, music done by John Williams. It was a really weird film, and Could you imagine that? All right, so James, what we're going to do is you're going to do the soundtrack.
I don't know how to play an instrument.
We just want you to talk. Just kind of hum, and it'll work. We'll make it work. Okay. But anyway, yeah. Actually, I have to say that I remember the film being really terrible. But again, I think I watched it for the first time sometime in the '80s, and I don't think that I have seen it since. So it might be worth a new viewing as an adult to kind of go over it and go, oh yeah, okay. So now what I remember about it though is that it bombed. However, apparently the budget of $35 million, which in '79 is incredible, pulled in $94 million. So there you go. I don't even know what to say that it should have been. Who knows? It makes no sense to me. But I'm assuming, of course, that Alan and Dave, you have seen this film at some point in history.
I actually have not.
No?
Yeah,
It's I think we should watch it because it is a very, very strange film.
It's been a long time since I've seen it, but I remember really liking it. It sort of reminded me, like it's sort of plotless, but it's the imagery is amazing, and for capturing like the period flavor, it was like really like the juke joint was jumping, like it was.
It had a huge amount of talent behind it. So
pre-jukes. It would have been swing jazz and people, in flappers and fucking baggy zoot suits. That's what they called them.
You can never go wrong with a zoot suit.
Right, with Japanese air attacks.
I really wish that. Speaking of zoot suits, I really wish that Cab Calloway was still alive. Because that guy was talented beyond all comparison, man. I'll never, I of course knew him in his very late career, and because I think when did he die? I don't even know, but he always wore the suit, the oversized suit that had a specific cut to it that I just, to be honest, for a long time I always wanted one, a zoot suit for no reason whatsoever, because I'm like, I saw a Cab wearing it, so why not? He was cool, so please let me do that. But coming at you, I gotta say, this is a film have never seen, so I kind of
right. So like again, like I said, it's a little bit plotless. Like they really play up the 3D elements.
Okay.
But the imagery is amazing.
It sounds like the plot of Jaws 3D.
Potentially. It's sort of like what they used to say about. So we're talking spaghetti westerns here, right?
Yeah.
Something that used to be said of the difference between Hitchcock and Dario Argento.
Right.
Hitchcock was a He was on a tour that thought he was a craftsman. Argento was a craftsman who thought he was on a tour. I don't know what Ferdinando Baldi. I don't know what Ferdinando Baldi thought he was, but like the shots are so imaginatively staged that it's sort of like, okay, well, we got access to 3D technology. Let's fucking go crazy, right? And yet, I wouldn't call it entirely plotless. Like compared to some of the shit that you have to fucking wade through in terms of your, Jesus, Guardians of the Galaxy 2. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm sorry. I love Guardians of the Galaxy 1, but Guardians of the Galaxy 2, it was just, there's a lot of words, and those words are, and now there's psychedelic stuff, and it's like there's words and there's psychedelic stuff. Fucking, I sort of don't know.
I'm Mary Poppins, y'all. Something tells me Alan hasn't seen this film you're referring to.
Did you not see that?
Which Guardians of the Galaxy 2? No, I have not seen it.
Is there a specific reason why?
You know, all those Marvel films, there's too many of them. I can't keep up. I washed my hands of the whole freaking thing. Now, I did see the first Guardians of the Galaxy. I did enjoy it. Not enough to go out of my way to watch the second one. I'll watch the second one of these days, I assume. Maybe not. Hey, but you know what I did see? Yes, Marvel over Italy was Terminator Dark Fate.
Oh,
yeah, I saw it in the theater, yeah.
Was it all right?
I actually kind of liked it. If you forget Terminator 3 and whatever Terminator 4 or whatever, I don't know how many were.
Yeah.
Easily forgettable, so go on.
Yeah. If you go like Terminator 1, 2, and then this one, it's actually really cool. And the very first scene is what really kind of hooks you, because they use digitally recreated, but it looks like totally real, Sarah Connor and John Connor, like right after Terminator 2. I don't know if it was a scene that they had filmed back in the early 90s.
No, I can actually answer that. That film, that particular scene, the guy who is the bodybuilder that has a very similar body type to Arnold Schwarzenegger at that time, who they used in Genesis, which I sadly watched. And I'm like, why am I watching this? It was horrible. It had some really cute things like, oh, that's like the place and the thing from the first movie. And then after a while, you're like, I don't care anymore. This story is terrible. But anyway, but yeah, Dark Fate. So yeah, so the very spoilers for those who haven't seen it, like you, Locke. They recreate. So they had the bodybuilder guy who has the same body style as Schwarzenegger back in the day, and another actor who was a little more relevant to what he was, but essentially an actor roughly of the age of Edward Furlong at the time. And it's one of those things where the digital technology is now and the artistry of it is now to the point where, I give it another 5-10 years and we're going to be able to see actors on screen that you will not be able to discern between what is real and what isn't, which is terrifying on one level, but kind of cool on another. But yeah, so the scene is those two they're on the run, they're hiding from the evil Terminators, and they basically are almost like watching it. You would go, oh, they must have shot this back in the 90s. So it was really well done, and I totally recommend it. If you haven't seen it.
Now, I know we've been almost streaming for an hour here, so I don't want to get into something too deep, but I was watching a couple of YouTube videos where they had taken footage from the theatrical release of Star Wars Rogue One, which they had made computer generated Tarkin.
Oh, right, yeah.
And computer generated Princess Leia from 1977. And somebody had gone and taken that footage and used deepfake technology to actually put the actors' faces on it, and it looks so much more real. In the original theatrical, it looked it was very good, but it looked computer generated. With this processing, it didn't at all. It was kind of scary.
So it's scary / cool because because now we can redeem some of the errors.
I could see Lucasfilm re-releasing, say, Rogue One or maybe some others, and using this technology just to make the films that much more realistic.
But here's the problem that I find is there's still an endemic problem right now throughout the fucking film industry. Whereas there are so many characters, so many actors, so much legacy production that where the actor and the character were identifiable by their deep voice.
Yeah.
And my biggest bitch with the last with the Han Solo movie, he started talking like a Smurf, like he's got this high pitched voice, and it's sort of like kind of irritating after a while when you're used to.
See, now what they could do,
whatever you say, kid.
What they could do now.
I mean, that's Han Solo talks with a deep voice. Does he not talk with a deep voice?
What they could do now is they could redo that Han Solo movie, and digitally put in Harrison Ford in it as a young man, and actually have Harrison speak the lines, like record the dialogue and overdub, which is kind of amazing.
Yeah, I mean that deepfake thing for Rogue One, they did acknowledge that they in the Rise of Skywalker, like the last Star Wars flick, that they did use deepfake technology for. Remember they had that training scene where Luke is training Leia. They apparently did use deepfake stuff to make those faces, to actually have those digital recreations from. I think they said they used it from Empire. So most of the captures that they used for the computer to do the thing. So, I mean, the one thing actually, speaking of actors who are recognizable for roles, like ones who are typecast or ones who are just really well known for a particular part, using deepfake stuff, you could actually do that, like Alan's suggesting, where they have them come in and record lines, and then their younger self is doing it. They did it for Kurt Russell in Guardians of the Galaxy 2 specifically, where they had scenes from that looked like it was the 1970s, and they had him as young Kurt Russell. Since spoilers, Kurt Russell's in Guardians of the Galaxy 2. But this whole deep fake part of it, people are, of course, concerned about deep fake stuff being a thing and being used for the forces of evil, but you're not going to stop a technology just because you think it's going to be bad for something. So there's a lot of tech being dumped into recognizing deep fakes. Like, how do you actually
so this is the thing that I fucking love about all of this is that this is another moment where the science fiction of my childhood has been eclipsed by my present.
Yeah, this is true.
Like think back to The Running Man. Not just the Stephen King story, but the actual
the movie
mobilization by Schwarzenegger et al. Oh dear, wasn't Jesse the Body Ventura was in that?
Yes, he was.
Yeah, he was the retired.
Yeah.
What did they call him?
Yeah. He was involved in the deep fake.
Yeah.
Of the deep faking of.
That's true. That's true. They had a lot of that edited video stuff. Yeah.
Right. Like. Welcome to the future, ladies.
Yeah,
and
no,
gentlemen.
I mean, and you're right. It's been eclipsed because that was just about editing footage together, and then people believing that edit was the real thing. I mean, it's to be honest, it's like that watching the 2008 zombie outbreak series called Dead Set, where it's one of the few that I recommend if you've ever watched a zombie film and you want to see something good being done, similar to what they did with Dawn of the Dead back in 79? I can't remember. where it actually there was a commentary going on in the background about consumerism back then, where Dead Set is about reality TV and how everyone have now become zombies because they're watching this mind garbage that's going in. Like if you've, I mean, I'm not spoiling much, but basically during this whole, I think it was 8 episodes, made out of the UK, and it takes place in Big Brother London. But essentially, all the zombies are attracted to watching snow on TVs. So, like, the TV has no signal, so you get that static, and that's what the zombies are attracted to. And there's hordes of zombies just standing around staring at TVs. Anyway, but basically, the commentary is that the show Big Brother is Big Brother London. So you have all these people locked in a fake house that are all being watched with cameras everywhere, and they're inside this thing. A zombie outbreak happens, and during this whole first episode, one of the characters gets voted off or voted out of the house. And so the process is they leave the house and then they go to a stage outside the fake house, and the fans are there screaming their names or whatever, and they talk about how they got voted off. But the character walks by this editing booth, and there's this guy who's the showrunner who's having these edits being done together, and the woman goes, "Hey, I thought this is reality TV. You can't edit reality TV." And he just turns to her and says, "Since when was reality TV about reality?" And that sets off this motion, this whole story of this thing. So if you've never seen Dead Set and you don't mind zombie films, go watch this one because it's totally worth it.
Cool.
Dead Set.
So on the subject of watching static on TV, I used to do that like crazy in my 20s. And
really,
the genius thing of it is that if you watched it long enough, at the resolution that it was at, either you're watching just random static, or you're watching a super realistic close-up film of ball bearings pouring down in a cascade.
Yeah, I can totally see that. Watch it long enough and your brain starts to fill in.
Could be either one.
On that note, hopefully you're watching this show and not thinking we're just ball bearings screaming at your face. Tell people about the show. Do all the things that all the social media tell you to do. Hit buttons and press things and tell and share things. Because
ring bells.
Ring bells. That's right. There's also bell ringing, I hear. So yeah, we do this for fun. So if you like beer and you like us blabbering about it, then there you go. I don't know what else to say other than, Alan, as always, take us out, and we'll see you next week.